Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our informational webinar for Carillon Communities. We are so grateful that you all are taking the time tonight to be in community with us and learn a little bit about Carillon. My name is Ben Beltran. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director of Carillon Communities. Before we get started, I do want to talk a little bit about some logistical things that we have going on. So this is a webinar. You all, as attendees, have your videos and mics turned off automatically. So you can see us, but we can't see or hear you. And also, if folks have questions or you're encountering technical issues, you can always send a chat to the folks who are the hosts and panelists. Additionally, you can click on the Q&A feature on the webinar and we will answer your questions that way. If you have a question that's not logistical in nature, I would say that let's save that until the end because we will have a Q&A portion for the end of the webinar. So before I go much further, I do want to start off by saying congratulations to everyone on the call who is a new TERP, who got your acceptance letter a couple weeks back, and particularly for those of you who got that Carillon invitation. Certainly, you all have so much to contribute to our campus community, and we're really excited for you to hopefully join us in the fall. And so I did want to start with that and say congrats to your families too. I know we probably have a lot of parents on the call as well, and there's just so much to be proud of for having a son or daughter who is admitted to college and beginning this journey. So really excited about that. And to kick us off today, I'm actually going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Abby McEwen, who is our faculty director and also leads our art and activism community, and she will be sharing some remarks.
Thanks so much, Ben. Good evening, everyone. I'll say just a few words about Carillon's mission and our program's goals. Carillon Communities is a one-year living learning program built on the values of teamwork and creative problem solving. Since we welcomed our first class in 2014, just 10 years ago, Carillon has empowered students with the skills and knowledge they need to design meaningful academic and professional paths beginning in their first semester on campus. We cultivate intentional living learning experiences through our paired Big Question and studio courses, introducing diverse perspectives and disciplines, and supporting student success and well-being. We aid students in their transition from high school to college and beyond by offering special opportunities, linked courses within each community, collaborative projects, community-wide programming within an intentionally compact structure. Our students interact closely with Carillon faculty and instructors, getting to know them personally in small class settings and through community events. We truly believe that Carillon can be transformational for our students and set them up for success at UMD and throughout their lives. Now back to Ben, who will share more details about our communities and what a year in Carillon will look like.
All right, thanks, Abby. A couple more things I wanted to mention that I forgot. You should see on your Zoom toolbar an option to enable closed captioning. If that is helpful for you, feel free to use that. And additionally, if you have any questions, you're able to put that in the Q&A feature as well. And I think I did say that. So yeah, but bear with us. We're doing this webinar and we are excited to have you all with us. And the last thing I want to say, we are recording. So if you ever want to go back to any of this and hear some of the information that we shared, this will be posted on our website probably within the week. All right, so I did want to start us with the Carillon mission. It feels like sort of the common sense place to start. And I know that a lot of programs have mission statements and sometimes it could be sort of like flowery language. But we actually worked really hard on this mission statement and we're really excited to sort of share this with you. And I know they say don't read from slides, but I do want to read this for you all. So Carillon Communities empowers students with the skills and knowledge to design meaningful academic and career paths beginning in their first semester on campus. We cultivate intentional living learning experiences through paired big question and studio courses that foster creative thinking and teamwork, introduce diverse perspectives and disciplines, and support student success and well-being. And the things that I really want to hone in on here are this idea of being successful and achieving well-being during your first semester on a college campus, right? We know that that transition to college is an exciting time, but also maybe a challenging time. And so the point of Carillon is really for us to provide that support for students so that they're successful. It's sort of as soon as they get to College Park, right? And so we are here to help you to begin your journey in a really positive way. And that's kind of what we're all about. Okay, so a question that I often get from students, from their parents is, what is Carillon Communities and why is it something that we should be interested in, right? And that's a great question. These are a few reasons why I think Carillon Communities is really a great program for students to participate in. So this university, it's large, right? University of Maryland College Park is a large institution. And whether your high school graduating class had 100 students or 1,000 students, likely when you get here, it's going to feel big. What we provide in Carillon is an opportunity for you to join a smaller community within the larger campus community. And so that could be really helpful as you sort of navigate that transition and feel like you're a part of the University of Maryland and our community here of Terps. We also offer hands-on support from our faculty and staff. And so we have the instructors who teach our 2 recorded courses, which I'll talk more about. And we also have our full-time staff on program. Like I said, it's a big college campus. And as students, you might wonder, who do I go to if I have a question? If I'm struggling, who do I talk to? And being a part of Carillon Communities, you have those folks there for you, and they're invested in your success, truly. Our faculty teach for us because they are invested in first-year students and their success, and all of our staff share that same goal as well. Being a part of Carillon means that you will have an opportunity to really plan out your UMD journey. So what does that mean? That means when you get to a college campus, for many of you, it might be the first time that you are really sort of authoring your journey, so to speak. And we want you to be able to do that with intentionality and with guidance. And you'll have lots of chances to do that, particularly in our Carillon Studio course, Idea 101, which we'll talk more about. But our hope is that once you get to campus, that by participating in Carillon Communities, you will feel like you are really offered that opportunity to think about what you want to get out of your UMD experience. Skills like teamwork, creative thinking are really at the heart of what we do in Carillon. It is woven into our coursework, and they are sort of the guiding tenets of what we want you to learn from our program. And we think that it will help you both during your time here at the university, it'll help you with your coursework, but we also think it's really beneficial for you beyond your time at the University of Maryland. And so we really believe in these skills and how they will serve you in your lives. And then the last thing I want to highlight here is what it means to engage with students both inside and outside of the classroom. So we'll talk for quite a bit about our 2 required courses, and you'll hear about that, and I'm sure you all are interested in the coursework. But we also have opportunities for you to engage with us outside of the classroom. And so that could be meeting with our faculty and staff outside the classroom. We also have a variety of different events and co-curricular programs. When you get to campus in the fall, we sort of hit the ground running with lots of different programs, including a trip to DC, which I'll talk about. And so it's really a holistic experience that goes beyond the classroom and includes sort of your entire time here during your first year. Okay, so this is what I would call sort of the nuts and bolts of Carillon, right? So a lot of the stuff that I've shared so far, maybe it sounds really good, but you might be wondering, what specifically am I signing up for if I do Carillon Communities? And so this is it right here. There are 2 required courses. Both of them take place in the fall semester. So that is the first semester that you are on campus, you will complete the 2 and only required courses for this program. And we like to clarify that because that is something that kind of sets us apart in a sense, right? We don't have a ton of different requirements for you from an academic standpoint. We are just front loading the experience right at the beginning of your time here on campus. And so we have our big question community courses, which are 3 credits. These courses are tied to the specific community that you're assigned to. And these also satisfy a general education requirement. The reason why we specify that is because all students have to complete general education requirements. So by taking these courses, you are essentially knocking out something that you would have to complete in order to get your degree. The big question courses are not an add-on. They shouldn't be seen as like an additional burden. There's something that all students have to do, and we help you to get that checked off. The second required course is the Carillon Studio course, or Idea 101. That is a 1-credit course that introduces students to design thinking and really helps you to start thinking about how you want to design your experience here at the University of Maryland and beyond. So going back to that piece about planning out your journey and being intentional, this is really where we start to do that kind of work. And that course is taught by a variety of different staff from across campus who are great resources to our students and who are really passionate about supporting first-year students. So when we talk about a living learning program, that's what Carillon is. The living is the coursework. So those are the 2 required courses I just named. Or the learning is the coursework. The living is living on campus with us and other students in the program. So for Carillon students who choose to live on campus, you will be assigned to Easton Hall, and Easton Hall is where most of our students live. Easton is a residence hall for first-year students. We get lots and lots of questions about Easton, and we're happy to answer those at the end of the call. Something that I will highlight is that Easton is our only designated residence hall for Carillon students. If you choose to commute from your home, or if you choose to request alternative housing for accommodations or other reasons, then that is totally fine. It's not a requirement to live in Easton, but if you're opting into our living component, that is where you will be placed. And so I did want to specify that, and we're happy to take more questions about housing at the end, because I know that's what a lot of y'all are interested in. And then the last thing I want to talk about with program components is that out of the classroom experience. So as I mentioned, we do have a variety of events and co-curricular programs that we offer to students. It starts right at the beginning where we take students on a trip to DC. So if you look at that picture on the bottom left, that is actually a group of students who are on the National Mall during our DC trip just this past year. And so we take students into DC. Each community will go to a different museum, and it's really a great opportunity to connect with your faculty and to connect with your peers and really start to build community and make memories right from the very beginning of your time on campus. So we love the DC trip, and that is a signature sort of Carillon experience. Additionally, we have programs like the Carillon Showcase. So those smiling faces in the top left, those are a few of our students presenting their work at the Carillon Showcase this past December. And that's an opportunity to just kind of demonstrate for other folks in the community and outside the community what you've learned from your big question course in Carillon. In addition to that, we hold all types of programs throughout the year. Some are on campus, some are off campus. We have sort of academic support programs, and we also just do fun things like taking a group of students into DC to watch a Washington Nationals game. That's something we did this past fall, and it was a blast. And so really, when you think about Carillon and what it entails, there's the 2 required courses, but there's lots of optional ways to engage as well, and lots of things going on outside the classroom that I think will help you to cultivate that sense of community and make connections right away during your first semester on campus. Okay, so Carillon communities. You may have noticed that the word communities is plural, and that's because we are made up of a variety of different communities. This upcoming year, there will be 12, and they're listed here. What you'll see is the name of the community in bold, and then underneath it is the big question associated with that community. And so these communities range a variety of different topics, a variety of different academic disciplines. And what we tell students is to really think about what is interesting to you, right? We don't encourage students necessarily to enroll in a community or to preference a community that is connected to your major in any way. This is an opportunity for you to just explore something that's interesting. It's just one class that's tied to it. And these are really cool classes, really cool classes and really great questions to explore. One thing I will mention here, these courses, as I said, are all general education courses, so you're knocking out that requirement. I do want to call attention to masculinities and family health, which is specific for Freshman Connection. And so if you are a Freshman Connection student, then that is the community that you are able to participate in. For those of you who are not, you can choose from the other 11 when filling out your interest form. And I will talk about the interest form at the end if you have questions about that. One other question we get a lot, do these communities correlate with where you live on campus and in Easton Hall? And the answer is no. So if you end up getting placed in iGive, you could room with someone who's in design and practice, and there will be people on your floor from Once and Future Planet. So we commingle the communities as far as the living space is concerned. This just correlates to the course that you take, the big question course that you take. And a variety of other outside the classroom activities as well, but has no bearing on your housing assignment. So these are our amazing faculty who lead each of the 12 communities. I think it's really important to understand that these are faculty who are teaching these courses for first-year students. All of our big question courses are usually between 30 to 60 students. On a campus like this, that's pretty small, right? And so these faculty are going to get to know you. They are going to be invested in your success. And we are really happy to be able to connect students to faculty who really care about them and want to see them successful and could potentially serve as mentors. So definitely cannot say enough great things about our faculty who teach the courses and the impact that they could have on your UMD experience. And I will say, I'll plug it right now and I'll mention it again at the end. We have some of these awesome faculty on the call. And if you want to chat with them, meet them virtually, that opportunity will happen sort of right at the end of this webinar. So just previewing that. And now I'm going to turn it over to our GA Sage, who's going to talk a little bit about Idea 101, our Carillon Studio course.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sage Birch. I'm the graduate assistant for Carillon Communities, and I'm so excited to tell you about Idea 101, and this is the 1-credit Carillon Studio course. So Idea 101 is one of 2 required courses. I taught Idea 101 last fall, so I'm a big believer in this course and what it has to offer you. This time is really, it's just for you. Idea 101 is highly structured, and you're going to be given plenty of prompts, but your participation and your thoughts and the work that you put into this class really makes Idea 101 what it is. So there are 3 major parts of Idea 101, and number 1 is the design project. You are going to build empathy through interviewing. You are going to identify 2 professionals who are in the field that you are interested in entering after you graduate, and you're going to interview them about how they got where they are today. The second one is Design My Maryland. This is the biggest project. And you're going to be asking questions. How are you going to act with intention? How are you going to make sure that you get where you want to go? These are really big questions. And the great thing about Idea 101 is that you don't have to ask or answer these questions alone. You're going to be asking them in small groups with your peers and thinking about what you want to do with your time at the University of Maryland. And the very last one is the personal elevator pitch. You're going to take everything that you thought about over that semester, and you're going to boil it down to 30 seconds. And you're going to make a case for why you are the best person for the job that you want to have. And you're going to speak as though you're speaking to a professional who works in that field that you want to enter. And that's Idea 101. Very briefly, I'm super excited that you are going to get the chance to take Idea 101. All right, so let's go on to the next slide. Thank you very much. So we have some leadership opportunities for you, for Carillon students. And the first one is a peer mentorship program. So this will become available to you at the soonest in fall of 2025. You're going to enroll in a 3-credit course where you learn about mentorship, and you're also going to join Idea 101 again, but this time as a mentor. And you are going to help work with the next generation of Carillon students, and you're going to keep connected to the Carillon Communities program. The second is as an ambassador. And again, this is something you can do as a current or as a former Carillon student, and you're going to help with recruitment, and you're going to hear more about this at the end of the webinar. The next one is as a teaching assistant. So when you join Carillon in fall, you are going to take an I-Series course and you're just going to be a student. But in the fall of 2025, you will have the opportunity to join these classes again, but this time as a teaching assistant to help those I-Series course instructors, help with grading and get some classroom experience. And lastly, here you'll get the chance to get some micro credentials. And what happens is if you take on leadership opportunities, you are eligible for these badges. It's some way for you to get credit through the university for co-curricular leadership involvement. You can put this on a resume, you can put this on your LinkedIn profile, and in this way you can share it with prospective employers. And down here we have some optional courses. There are 2 here. There's the Common Ground Deliberative Dialogue and the Innovation and Social Change Do Good Now course. These are both courses that you can opt into. You don't have to take them, but they're a great opportunity for you to maintain your connection with Carillon students and ask really big questions and just learn a ton and knock out some of those requirements that are required through the university. All right, that's all from me. Thank you so much for listening. I'm really excited for you. The future is very bright, so thank you for listening.
All right, thank you, Sage. Yeah, so just to highlight what Sage just shared, so as I said earlier, we are a 1-year program, but our required coursework takes place in the fall semester. For those of you that want to continue to take courses with us, these 2 optional courses both are offered in the spring, which would be your 2nd semester on campus. Common Ground Dialogues is a great way to engage with a social issue with other peers and engage in dialogue, a process of really thinking through a complex social issue, hearing different perspectives, and trying to come up with some possible courses of action that could be used to address these issues. And we've specifically taken topics from our big question courses that students that can continue to explore in these dialogue courses, and we're really excited about that. And it's a fully peer facilitated opportunity too, which is a really novel experience on campus to be able to be in a space where it's just you and other students trying to tackle these big questions. And sort of in that same vein, the Innovation and Social Change course is also a great opportunity if you're looking to explore a complex social issue, sort of think through the different facets of that issue, interview stakeholders, and develop a project plan. That is an opportunity that is particularly designed for students in our iGive community, is sort of designed as an extension of what you do in iGive during the fall. And so both great ways to continue the work that you start in the fall, not required, but awesome opportunities that are optional to our students. All right, and so you've seen several of these people already, which is really cool. I did want to share that this is our Carillon staff team. So in addition to the faculty who teach our courses, we also have folks who are sort of managing the day-to-day operations of our program and supporting students outside the classroom and putting on events and things of that nature. And so these are the folks that are here to support students outside of the classroom. Like I said, you've met most of us. We also have Miriam and Jenny on the team who are awesome. I can't say enough about how valuable it is to have people that you can go to if you have a question or concern. It's a big campus and maybe you're just not sure. Who do I turn to? Who do I ask? Who do I get support from? Who can connect me to resources? These are 5 people right here who can do that if you're a student in Carillon. And that's just something that we can, that we really hang our hat on as far as what we help students to do in their first year in order to be successful and to thrive. All right. So now we have what I believe is actually the best part of this entire webinar. It's where I stop talking so much and you actually hear from some of our fantastic students, both current students and former Carillon students, who will share a little bit about their experiences being in Carillon so that you can hear it right from them. I can talk about all the different program requirements and the nuts and bolts, but they can really speak to the student experience in a way that I can't. So I'm going to ask our lovely student ambassadors to go ahead and turn your cameras on if you can. And what I will do is ask each of you to introduce yourselves and share the year that you participated in Carillon, your Carillon community, and sort of what that community focused on.
Hi, I'm Alexa. I participated in Carillon in 2021, 2022, so I am a junior, and I was in the I Give community.
Hi, Sophia. I participated in Carillon in fall 2023 in the I Give community as well. And our big question was, how do I give?
Hi, I'm Ella Cooper. I also participated in I Give last year of fall 2022. We, like they said, kind of focused on how can we give, how can we make a difference, and we can get into it more specifically later, but basically we just picked a social issue that the entire class was kind of interested in and then tackled that all together through a variety of different ways.
Hi, my name is Rohan. I participated in Carillon this past fall in 2023. I was in the weather and climate community, and the main big question of it was what's the difference between weather and climate, and why is it usually okay to talk about weather and specifically not climate?
Awesome. Thanks to each of you. I'm currently troubleshooting how we can get your videos on. So thanks for bearing with us. But while I sort of sort that out, I would love for each of you to share a little bit about what was something that felt meaningful to you from your time in Carillon.
Something meaningful for me when I was in Carillon was that it was definitely a big jump going from high school where you have classes with kids that I had gone to school with my whole life. And then you go to college where it's a different format every day and it's just not as structured. So it was really nice being able to work closely with a professor and also the fact that like I saw so many familiar faces, which was similar to high school, which made it a lot less intimidating. Because not only did I live with these students, but we did have two courses first semester together, people that I knew in such a big school.
For me, the most unique part about being in Carillon, and specifically I Give, was the fact that it played such a big role in my first semester, mainly because it was my first class that focused on giving back directly to the community. Because if like y'all don't know already, the main point of I Give is to donate a grant of $7,500 to an organization. And my class decided to donate to an organization that's dedicated to gun violence, which is really important to me because we got to spoke at a panel and there was like an award ceremony. It was just a very unique class.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Carillon because it was pretty chill. It was a nice opportunity just to meet people in a new area. Like I'm out of state, so I didn't necessarily know so many people around here. So it wasn't like what I liked about it wasn't like too much like demanding academically. So it was like it more focused on just meeting new people. So I believe it's pretty beneficial, and most of you should like probably consider doing it.
For me, I kind of have a different reason. So when I joined Carillon, I didn't really know which community kind of to pick at first. And like Ben said earlier, you don't necessarily have to pick a community based on your major. So I kind of just picked based on a personal interest. So I ended up doing I Give. It focused a lot on philanthropy, and I ended up doing the optional like second semester of the course, which ended up being amazing. And then I actually ended up picking up a nonprofit leadership minor just because I was so interested in it. So I just feel like it has kind of brought me through my journey of learning more about philanthropy.
All right, thank you all for sharing. I am making all 4 students hosts, so you should be able to turn your cameras on. Apologies to everyone that you can't see their lovely faces, but you should start to see them momentarily, which is really exciting. There we go. Look at that. And so I'll actually ask one more question of the student ambassadors since we didn't get to see your lovely faces. What is, if you could point to like a really fun memory, it could be something really big, like a program that we put on, or it could just be something really small, like something that happened in Easton or in the residence hall during your first year. But what's just like a really great formative memory that you have from your time on in Carillon Communities?
I can start on this one. So there was one day where we did a class debate. It was about the Oprah Winfrey School that she like created, and it was a whole debate on if it was a misguided, I don't know, like act of philanthropy, I guess. And the entire class got so involved. It was supposed to be just like an icebreaker. It ended up taking the entire class time, and then again the next week. But the entire class like went to the dining hall after, and we were all just like still talking about it because it was so interesting. And we would talk about it in the dorms later that night. Like it literally was the most interesting thing. And then we all wrote a paper on it, and I was like obsessed with writing that paper. I like totally nerded out on it, and it was just super funny because everyone was super into it. So that was definitely one of my highlights.
One of my highlights was at the end of the semester, we did a presentation. So I was in iGive, like I mentioned. And so when we did give the grant money to the nonprofit that we chose, that was like a really good memory when we were able to like meet the people of the organization and see who we were actually helping. And it was great to meet them.
For me, my favorite experience was also the grand ceremony at the end of iGive because, as Ben mentioned earlier, one of the best things about Carillon is the fact that we are able to gain more leadership opportunities. And I was actually one of the speakers at the grand ceremony. It was really cool because not only was there free food, but it's just really cool to tell people that we were able to speak at a grand ceremony and that the class just comes together and talks about the amazing experience that iGive or Carillon was as a whole.
Uh, for me, I really, man, this thing seemed really trivial compared to everyone else, but I kind of just like the little study area that Caroline gave us. It was like nice. They give snacks, felt kind of like a nice, like safe area to study and meet new people and just kind of chill with my friends. So I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, all of you. And Rohan, yeah, that's not trivia at all. We love just creating spaces for you all to kind of be in community and eat snacks, right? That's awesome. So here's what I'm going to say now for our participants on the call. We have carved out this time for you to ask questions. And I know that I see that there's already some questions in the chat. And so you have a couple of options here. You can put a question in the chat, and we will do our best to either type out a response or verbally give a response. We do have these awesome students here, so we'd love to hear some questions about their experiences, things that they can speak to. But also, if you have questions that are a little bit more logistical in nature about our program, then our staff are here and can help answer those questions as well. So the Q&A button is at the bottom in the toolbar. You should see a list of questions as folks start to ask them. If you see a question that you also want to have answered, you should be able to do a little upvote, click the thumbs up. And so we'll try to track that as well. But bear with us as we kind of work our way through those questions. And like I said, it will be a combination of some typing out responses and some verbal responses as well. All right, so I see that our staff is already hard at work typing out some responses. I'm reading through the questions right now and seeing what we got and what might be some questions that we can answer for you all. Um, this is actually a really interesting question, and I think speaks a little bit to our placement process. So a question here is for the ambassadors on the call, is the community that you're in your first choice community? If you can think back to when you filled out the interest form, and if it wasn't, how was your experience? If it was, how was your experience? But I'm just curious about that. Because I imagine a lot of folks don't get their first choice experience, but maybe still have a good time. So if anyone wants to speak to that.
Personally for me, iGive was my first choice, and I was just really excited because, no offense to the other communities, but I wasn't like that interested in them. I just feel like if you get your first choice, like you'll be really happy about it. But I do have friends that wanted to be in iGive, but they got their second or third choice, and they still had like a really fun learning experience. Like for example, my roommate, she wanted to be in iGive, but she ended up being in Harvest, and I know Harvest is different for 2024, but she ended up learning R, which is like a coding language, which is new to her.
Just something to add on to that, like even if you're in a different community, like Ben said earlier, there's a ton of events that do involve like communities all together. Plus, again, you might not necessarily have a roommate in your community. So everyone's kind of intertwined. I think that might answer another question that I saw too in the chat. Just are you like secluded or is everyone friends? Like I would say everyone's friends. Like my roommate personally was not in my community, but I met her friends in her class, she met them in mine, and so on.
I can also speak to that. I was definitely worried too socially, like if I would be stuck with only people in the living learning community. And my roommate, she was freshman year, was not in Carillon. And like what you want is what you get out of it. Like I personally treated Carillon as more of just like classes I took to fulfill gen eds and people I knew on my floor. They weren't really my friends. Like I had a whole social life outside of it. But I had other like people who I knew in Carillon who's like still super close to the people that they knew in Carillon. So it's truly what you want from it. It's not like you're secluded from like the rest of the students or nothing like that.
Yeah, for me, I think weather and climate was my third choice. I picked it like super late. Like I filled out the form like literally the day before it was due because I was kind of putting it off. But even though it was my third choice, it was actually enjoyable. Like I probably doesn't matter too much what community that you're in specifically. Just more importantly that you're part of Carolina as a whole. Because you like people were saying before, like it doesn't really restrict who you make friends with, and that's what I think the main benefit of Carillon is. Most of my friends now, like I think it's 50-50, half of them are Carillon, half of them are not. So yeah.
Awesome. And that's actually a great segue for another question that I saw in here, if I can find it. It was essentially asking, here it is. Do you all stay friends with people from Carillon after your freshman year? So I know some of you are first year students, but for those of you who are not, have you remained in touch? If you could speak to that.
Yeah, so I'm a junior now, and I have like one friend from Carillon who I knew through iGive, and it kind of worked out that like we both were in iGive in undecided majors, and we both kind of did. Then we were TAs for a class for iGive or the Idea 101 together. So then we kind of applied to the business school together, and so I still see her like all the time. We just had a class like once a semester. We have a class together now, so yeah, I'm definitely still close with her.
I would say for me too, there's honestly people that I'll still meet that I didn't even know last year and find out they're in Carillon and now I like see them all the time too. But yeah, I would say my roommate and I are still in touch. Like it's just the same as making friends anywhere else. Like you see them every day. It's almost easier because you do see them in class every day too. So yeah, definitely easy to stay in touch with them.
I'm a freshman, so I can't really like fully answer, but I will say that next year I am planning on rooming with the same roommate from Carolina and also two other girls who are also in Carolina, which we were all in different communities. So it was really cool that we actually met together and formed like a roommate group.
Yeah, I'm a freshman too, so I can't really say like long term, but it's like if you're gonna still stay friends with these people, I think that's kind of up to you. Like if you want to like maintain these friendships, you gotta like do stuff to maintain them. It's not like it's basically like any other friends you would make in Carolina or outside of Carolina.
Great. So for all of our attendees, our staff members are hard at work typing a lot of answers to the more logistical questions in the Q&A chat box. And so you should see those responses. And for those of you who are not even asking the questions, you can see the questions that other people are asking in the responses. So definitely feel free to skim through that. I will continue to try to find some questions. I see something, someone's asking, would students take only community classes in the living and learning facility or all classes? And so if I'm getting the essence of this question, the 2 required Carillon courses will take place somewhere on campus in one of our academic buildings. And those are the 2 courses for our living learning program for Carillon. In addition to that, probably all of you, or the vast majority of you, will take other courses too. And those will be other courses for maybe your major or for other gen ed requirements. But you'll have an opportunity to meet with an academic advisor during orientation to figure out what your class schedule will be. But only 2 of the courses that you take will be ours, and there will be some that won't be ours. And they will be sort of all across campus in a variety of academic buildings. Let's see, I'm continuing to look through here. I'm seeing a question that I'll direct to our students because it's got some upvotes. How are Carillon students treated or perceived by the general population of UMD? So if you feel like there's sort of a general perception of Carillon or just how folks have treated you, I'd welcome any of you to speak to that.
I saw that one. I was hoping we were going to talk about it. So basically, one of the reasons that I love Carillon Communities is because it just makes a really big school feel a lot smaller, which is super nice, especially for the transition into school. And I noticed that a lot of my friends outside of Carillon Communities were in other living learning programs offered at UMD. So I just think it's like a nice like kind of outlet that I guess you can have because so many other students are going to have these groups. Like I'm also a tour guide here at Maryland, and we talk about like the dozens and dozens of living learning programs that we have to offer here. So I just think it kind of gives students just like a nice place to have people that they have different interests with, whether they're in common or can learn from other people's interests, if that makes sense. So I think it's just kind of a nice outlet, and it's, I would say, kind of the norm to be in one that sometimes, but even if you're not, same thing, it's okay.
All right, thank you. I'm seeing a question here. I'd be curious if y'all could think back. For a couple of you, it's not thinking that far back, but for Ella and Alexa, might be thinking a little while back. So your Design My Maryland, the work that you did in Idea 101. I'm curious, there's a question here about planning your UMD journey. Is it more academically oriented, job related, that kind of thing? So maybe speak to a little bit of what you were thinking about when you did Design My Maryland and Idea 101, if you can think back to that.
So when it comes to Design by Maryland and the Idea 101 class, it doesn't have to be academic. It doesn't have to be like personal or like one of your passions. You can like literally make it like whatever you want. I know like there's probably like a lot of CS majors, and I know one of the guys that was in my group for Idea 101 was a CS major, and he essentially like discovered his path in Idea 101. And me personally, my plan was about like environmentalism, which like I'm pretty passionate about. You can just make it about whatever you want, honestly.
Yeah, so like what you would explore in Idea 101 doesn't necessarily have to pertain to your major. It can. So I explored 2 things. One of my things was to do research here on campus, and I was basically, the idea is to reach out to professionals who could do research and interview them and see how you can become involved in these other things. But my other thing was just like a passion. I was like, man, when I'm here at UMD, I just kind of want to bench 315. So that's my goal of mine. So I was just like, all right, how am I going to get it done? Uh, just looked up, explored these different paths, how other people did it, what it's like here on campus, explored the rec center and all the facilities here.
All right. Thanks for sharing. I'm continuing to look through our questions. And folks on our team are continuing to type answers. Let's see. I see one question that I'll get to in a minute as a sort of last call for action. Is it beneficial to submit your Carillon form before February 19th, which is the deadline? It is very beneficial because that's how you reserve your spot in our program. And if you submit your interest form for Carillon, what that does is it reserves a spot for you in Carillon, but it does not in any way tie you down. So if you end up not wanting to participate in Carillon, or maybe you choose to attend another university altogether, that's totally fine. All it does is reserve a spot for you. So we really encourage you all to submit that interest form by the deadline, which is February 19th. Let's see. There is a question here, and I don't remember. I think Rohan, you don't live in Easton, and if there's other folks out of our ambassadors who don't live in Easton, maybe speaking to that experience. If you don't live in Easton, which is where the majority of our students live, do you feel like you miss out on sort of the activities, or how has that impacted your time in Carillon?
Easton honestly was just like a regular dorm at Maryland. All of the freshman dorms are pretty much on North Campus. So, and it was nice because in Easton, like there was air conditioning, which not all the dorms have that. So it's guaranteed air conditioning. And I've like seen other questions about like the bathrooms, like each side of the hall has like a girl's bathroom and a boy's bathroom on each floor. And it was really nice because it's in the Denton community. So there's like three dorms that are next to each other. And in the middle, there's like a convenience store and a dining hall. So you just basically walk out of the building and you can get your food instead of like other dorms where you did have to like walk a little farther to get your meals. But living in Easton, like you were not secluded from anyone else. Like you're just a regular freshman. Like Carolina is just like at the end of the day, it's like just two classes you take. Like you were just a regular student.
Yeah, so I'm not in Easton. I'm in Hagerstown because I chose to live with a friend that I knew that isn't in Carillon, so they put me in Hagerstown. From my experience, I would say just take advantage of the Easton dorms, man. Like Hagerstown is not great, no AC. When the heat wave hit, it was kind of rough, but I think it's probably better if you like just take the opportunity to live in Easton. Because like if I had the opportunity again, I don't know if I'd stay in Hagerstown. So.
All right, so definitely advantages to living on campus in Easton, which is where most of our students live, but certainly not a requirement for those of you that choose to do otherwise. There are a couple questions that I wanted to address in here. So related to that, if I decide to join Carillon, do I need to complete the housing section in the process? Since Carillon students are automatically placed in Easton halls? The answer is yes. You do still need to complete your housing and dining form. In order to register for housing, that is a separate process. But once you complete that form, as long as you do it by the May 1st deadline, the Department of Resident Life will know that you're a Carillon student and will place you into Easton accordingly, unless you request accommodations or something else where they would put you elsewhere. So the answer there is yes, still do that housing and dining form, and that is on my list of reminders for the very end of this webinar for you all. I also saw a question on here about what makes Carillon different from honors and scholars. And so honors and College Park scholars are two other living learning programs on campus. Over half of our first year students live or participate in some sort of living learning program. They're all different, but they all have the same two components: the learning, which is required coursework, and the living, which is living somewhere together on campus. All the programs are different. They have different required courses. They have different sort of unifying topics. And students are only invited to one of those programs. So if you are on this call and you were invited to Carillon, that was the one that you were invited to. And so that is just a little bit about kind of the difference between living learning programs. Our take is that any living learning program on this campus is a great experience because it's an opportunity for you to get plugged into resources, make connections, and make that large campus feel a little bit smaller. And so in that way, we Obviously, we advertise Carillon. We hope that you participate, but we love all of our living learning programs on campus. We think they're all great. I'm still reading questions, a lot of questions about housing. You don't have to room in Easton. If you want to live with someone who is not invited to Carillon, we can talk about that for a moment. You're more than welcome to do that. And so that was kind of the position that you were in, Rohan. And so if you do choose to request a roommate who is not invited to Carillon, you will not be placed in Easton. So Easton is exclusively for students in our program who are living with other Carillon students. And that is totally at your discretion. If you have a roommate, you have someone you know from high school or elsewhere that you really want to live with, then that's totally fine. You won't be placed in Easton. You'll sort of be placed at random by the Department of Resident Life and one of our other first-year housing options. Related to that, a question here. How many of you did participated in sort of the random roommate process, or did you do sort of the roommate finder process where you get to go online and see folks who you could potentially room with? Or did you have someone that you went into Carol, or you went into this knowing I want to room with this person? So if any of the ambassadors want to speak to that, that would be great.
I found my roommate and I talked to a lot of other potential roommates through the Facebook group. I don't know if they're still doing that, but basically like people would post like a little bio about themselves and some pictures, and then people would just reach out that way.
I found my roommate through Instagram. It was pretty easy. I'm sure you guys have seen it. You'll like post a picture, some pictures of yourself and like a bio. People will DM you or you DM them. It's a pretty easy process if you like don't have a roommate yet.
Yeah, I didn't have my roommate figured out until like May or June. So you guys have a ton of time to figure that out.
All right, we will continue to look through these questions, try to get a couple more here. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Let's see. Lots of questions about housing. And so we're more than happy to continue to answer questions about housing. The best folks to answer those questions would be Department of Resident Life, though. And so feel free to reach out to them as well. If you have questions about are the rooms singles or doubles, if you have questions about the floor plans or what material the carpet is made out of, all that is better suited for Department of Resident Life. I'm continuing to look through anyone else as far as the ambassadors questions that you've seen that I haven't gotten to that you really want to answer, or any of our staff questions that we haven't gotten to that you want to flag for me. Feel free to jump in either on the mic or just shoot me a chat and I'll take a look at it.
I think the question asking what long-term lessons did Carillon give you to help you personally and career-wise, I'll answer that one really quick. So the one that I was in, I Give, we did a lot of interviewing, and it was actually really cool because I got to be on the other side. Usually, as a college student, you're usually the interviewee, just because we haven't really gotten into the professional world too much yet. So it was just kind of cool to be able to actually interview the organizations that we were potentially looking at to eventually donate a grant to. So I definitely learned a lot of really good interview skills. I also, being the interviewer, got to kind of evaluate, see what I liked, didn't like that the organizations did. So then it kind of helped me learn how to be a good interviewee in my future. So definitely learned that.
Okay, so I'm actually going to, just in the interest of time, kind of kick things over to our last couple of slides in our slideshow. If you do have questions, you can hang out and continue to type those in the chat. Our staff will stay on. And I also want to plug one more time that we will have an opportunity for particularly students, if you want to meet some of our faculty, they are going to be available at the end of this call. And so if that's something you're interested in, definitely hang out. But let me just real quickly return to our slideshow because I've got a couple action items and reminders that I think are really important for you all. And I want to thank, of course, our student ambassadors for taking the time to answer these questions and share your experiences. It really means so much, and we're all really lucky to be able to hear from you all. All right. So some important dates. We talked about some of this. February 19th is the deadline to submit your Carillon interest form. You will see that on your TERPS application portal. There should be a checklist. The very first thing will say accept your UMD admission, and then right under that you should see Carillon Communities, and you'll click on that. It'll take you to an interest form. You will submit your top 3 communities that you are most interested in, and we will place you in one of those 3 communities. And so, as we mentioned a few moments ago, you might not get your first choice community, but you'll get one of your top 3. And we really do think that no matter what community you're placed in, that being a part of our program is really a great asset. February 29th is when we are planning to email all of you to let you know what your community placement will be. It will actually be an email saying go to your TERPS application portal, and then you'll be able to see your placement there. And that's how you'll find out if you were in iGive or if you were placed in art and activism or which of our 11 communities you'll be placed in at that time. We have a variety of opportunities for you to come to campus. We know that we have a lot of folks maybe from out of state or maybe who have never been to College Park before. And we recommend coming and checking things out. So the 4 dates there, 2 in March, 2 in April, that last one is virtual. Those are all of the admitted student open houses coordinated by our admissions office. So that's for all admitted students to the university, an opportunity for them to come to campus, learn more about the university, take some tours, and we will have a session each of those 4 open houses specifically for Carillon. So hopefully at that point, you've submitted your interest form, you've been placed in a community and you're super excited about it. And then you can come to the Carillon session at one of those open houses and connect with us. And we really look forward to that. May 1st is a really big day. It is the day for 2 big deadlines. One is confirming your Maryland enrollment. So if you're looking at other universities and you're still kind of deciding, you have to make that decision by May 1st. That's when the university needs to be notified. And then also on May 1st is when the housing and dining agreement is due. So we mentioned that a few moments ago. For anyone who wants to live on campus, even if you're going to be in Carillon or not, you do need to submit a housing and dining agreement. And that is how you sign up for a meal plan and sign up for housing on campus. And as I said, if you submit that by the May 1st deadline and you've agreed to participate in Carillon, then in all likelihood, you will be placed in Easton Hall on a space available basis. Here's our contact info. You've probably seen it. You can reach out via email or phone. We also have social media, Instagram and Facebook. It is the exact same content on both those 2 platforms, just as a spoiler. So it's just your preference, but you're not missing anything on one that is on the other, for example. But definitely feel free to connect with us. We know that this is a short amount of time and we're trying our best to answer your questions, but we're here Monday through Friday, regular business hours, answering your questions as well. And so we're more than happy to connect. All right. So at this time, I'm going to ask our staff to stop recording the webinar. So we've kind of concluded the informational part